Aloha, Big Island. It is January 21st. I am Wago, and this is your Big Island update. The purpose of this channel is to have everybody informed about Andrew Yang, his policies, and what he could do for the United States and the world. If you're not from the Big Island, you dig it, this is like Cliff Notes. Take everything that happened yesterday, squish it into 5, 10, 12 minutes, and then put it out to you. If I talk too fast, you can go up to the corner here and you can slow it down. If I talk too slow, you can speed it up. Alrighty, so what the purpose of this is to take 10 minutes each day and go to a place called Yang Daily 10. At Yang Daily 10, those 10 minutes, you can learn more about the policy and help Andrew Yang become our president. There are about 365 days till inauguration of President Yang, which is 1 year for those who like to count. 526,600 minutes, I believe, something along those lines. We've got to get Andrew Yang into office, and that means text banking and phone banking and going out to Iowa for Iowa month, Iowa year. Started as a week, went to a month, possibly the year. We got to get out there. Anywho, the 21st day for the Yang Daily 10 is Bake a Cake for Yang. If you are into baking, bake it. Take a picture, put it on social media. That's awesomeness. All right, as I said, there's 365 days to the inauguration. During that time, you could go to yang2020.com, get informed about policies. You could also put in your area code or some place that you were going to be or would like to go, and then you can find out what Yang experience is happening there. Generally, Yang Gang hangs are canvassing oriented, but there are a lot of phone banking parties, a lot of text banking parties, and you don't have to go anywhere to do anything for the campaign. Just influencing yourself with the policies and how they work together in a standard Venn diagram. Why career limits, politicians, getting rid of the penny, making Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states. Democracy dollars, cutting lobbyist dollars, 8-1. There's so much information. Yesterday we covered information about vets, the more than a handshake policies, putting a roof over your head, declassifying some controlled substances, mental health, putting a roof over their head. If you missed that, go back and check that. That was yesterday, January 20th. But today, you can go to Yang 2020 and get involved. Also go to Yang Prints, print out any flyer that you would love to hand out, business cards. We had the Parker brothers from Waimea give us thousands of business cards, which we're gonna be using in our next couple events. Next event to be planned should be our meeting at January 26th here. But if you would like to make a meeting on your own, pledge drive for humanity, pledge for humanity, humanity first efforts, go to Yang 2020, suggest a mobilized event. If it's awesome, they will clear it and then just put it out to us. You can email us at yanggangbigisland@gmail. We would love to go too. We will support any event that you do. And as far as anything on all the islands, check out Mobilize. You can see what everybody else is doing. Like Ken, a comedian the other day, they went and supported him at 7 to 9. The guy from Community, Ken Jeong, I believe. Anyway, check it out. And if you like what we're doing here, please donate. We have a Patreon link, Big Island, Yang Gang Big Island. If you go there, $1, $5 goes a long way. We buy buttons, merch, flyers. Now we have business cards, but we'll be buying stuff to hand out to people to hand out to the public. We went to the Women's March, which was 2 days ago's update. We had a great time and we talked to over 150 people and not persuading, but just gave a bunch of different policies and facts. I used the text banking method to answer questions I was comfortable with, and if I didn't know, I told them I wouldn't know, and I gave them my personal email, yanggangbigisland at Gmail, and then a couple of people my actual personal email and phone number because the conversations we had were so stimulating. I would like to put them on this channel. Anywho, you could also go to the campaign and donate. Every dollar counts. Also, every phone call counts. Every text banking, every conversation. Humanity first. Alrighty, talked about the meeting, talked about that. If you could host a phone banking party or a text banking party, that would be phenomenal. If you have restroom facilities, if you're a business and you have room for 5, 10, 15 people to hang around, use their computers and talk on the phone, most likely they'll buy coffee, pastries, yada yada. And if you support Yang, it's win-win because you're showing support for democracy. And bless ya. Okay, so the Yang Daily 10 we hit, I'll put that in here so it's clear. If you want to become a precinct captain in Iowa and are not in Iowa, you can still sign up. Go to the website, Yang 2020, and Google it. There's also a link in the description below for ease. All right, moving on, Twitter and Reddit, I'm just gonna sum up like this. They talked about Martin Luther King Day. They also talked about the Women's March the day before. And basically, all of it was recaps and different pictures and events that had happened. Go to Reddit and Twitter just to follow up for the last week or so. The pictures alone are worth it. They're fun. I'll put a couple down here when we're putting back in the side edits. Videos. Zach and Matt show, check it out. Hard questions were pulled from the Brown and Black show. It seemed as if it was the hardest interview for him to field I mean, when I watched it, I was upset at first because of the questions, and then I thought, you know what? It's not for me to decide how they interview. It's not for me to decide how Andrew responds. It was what it was. This is authentic. So they asked Andrew questions about using stereotypes and slanders against his own people and how he thinks that sort of moves. He kind of talked about the math and the stereotype of being intelligent and SAT taking. It was interesting to see the perspective. Between the banter between the two hosts and Andrew, it felt as if the audience was disengaged. When they would show the audience, everybody was kind of in their own world doing their own thing. Anywho, great interview after I thought back on it and the questions he was asked and how he answered them. Not every question is going to be an applause and a stump speech question. That's just not life. This is real life. Check out that. It's in the description below. They talk about the minority myth, and then at 8:15 they do under a second quick Q&A. Andrew, I guess, didn't grab the concept that it was like one-word answers to win. They let it slide. He had a good time, and he answered authentically. Now moving on, problem solver politics. Cody and Cardin are chatting about the New York Times and how they backed Warren and Klobuchar, which is great. I dig it. Read it for yourself. I'm not going to summarize what I think because I'm not doing that on this channel. I'm going to summarize what they thought because that's what I do. Other people's information, other people's news. They have vetted the facts. I have vetted one more step on watching what they do on multiple channels. Like the last one I was talking about was the Zach and Mac show. Boyce also did the commentary that I would have done by analyzing each and every question. Wonderful. I'll put that in the description below too. Check out Boyce and the Mindful Skeptics. All right, so problem solving politics. At 12 o'clock, they just talked about Andrew and the Saturday Night Live incident where the gentleman who was hired got fired quite quickly because of his past. And a lot of that ties into the campaign of racial stereotypes, which, coming from a candidate who is not white, who is the person of color still left on the stage, the media is blacking that out, and the DNC has alternate agendas. It does not matter when the wave comes crashing down in February. Once that does, this source, the Big Island source, at Yang Gang Big Island, this channel, the Facebook posts, the main Hawaii Yang Gang site, which is down below too as well. All those things are resources for everyone on the Big Island and the world. If you want to check out this channel, you like the Cliff Notes, awesome. At 34:30, let's see, what do they talk about? It was kind of fluffy, man. Oh, how funny, fluffy. I was listening to Black Sabbath this morning. If you haven't checked out Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, check out the song Fluffy. It's wonderful. Anyway, they can't change a single data for one poll for Klobuchar, and then New York Times comes and backs her and Warren, which is great. But they said that it's the first time in history. It's not the first time in history. They backed Eisenhower in 1956 or 59. You can't spin a story. The internet's here. You could go back and do research and find data which disproves headlines and things out of the mouth, which is what's happening right now. Congress, Senate. What happens? Can't get into that. What happens to the judicial process if we don't have due law, due process? Anyhow, moving on. YJ Gold is feeling better. His foot's hooked up. He's back in Iowa, still doing it. He drops off his cards in the morning, goes, meets up with a couple people, does some canvassing, and then he does his synopsis wrap up. I'm so glad you're back on your feet, bud. Glad you're feeling better. Moving on. Nerds for Yang. Tom talks to Evelyn, which I'll put in the second description, but the first one I did, he's talking with Vaughn, a firefighter from Montana. Talks about a lot of things firefighting related and the benefit of being a firefighter for communities, what that means and where the funding's lacking, what the sort of provisions are for the unspoken terms. There's a huge video and then segments which have been coming out periodically from Tom. I would say go to Tom's website, Nerds for Yang, check it all out. Aloha, nerds! All right, in that, he was just talking about data like Tom does, which is wonderful. The polls that were rocking out in Iowa on January 12th were showing about a 3% and then slowly moved up to 5%, which is great. We're hitting in Iowa. New Hampshire, January 16th, 3.3%, which is a little bit low, but at least it's up on the 3 level, which means the media and the DNC bias isn't pushing against Andrew so much right there. Also in Nevada, January 16th, there was a 4% poll. Not quite where we want to be because there was a great turnout in Nevada. Absolutely great. They're the first ones that are going to be hit with automation in 2020, 21, 22, 23. That will be the first state that's going to see massive job loss because of automation and AI. Andrew's central platform besides is 3 to fix those things. If you don't know about that, Google Andrew Yang. South Carolina, January 8th, 2%. Not great, but the Quinnipiac poll, which was something completely different, had him at 4%. So they're quite different. More polls, more variation, more people, more choice, more democracy. That's what we're shooting for. On our primaries on April 4th, we're just hoping that you're registered to vote. If you're registered as a Democrat, put them there. We've got ranked choice voting. So if you are a Warren, Bernie, Klobuchar, democracy. Not democracy, Democratic side. You can do ranked choice voting. So if you like Andrew Yang, rank him first. What happens if the whole nation just ranks him first because his policies speak to you? No matter what it took you to get to this point, all the years of Bernie fighting for 40 years, Andrew wants to put term limits on any congressional seat, meaning the millennials will do what Bernie did in 40 years in 2 months. Can you imagine a world that moves that fast? Cut the bureaucracy, move the money around, put it back in the people's hands, and watch how people grow. Women, people of color, communities that have no money, entrepreneurship will take hold. And if you don't understand this right now, buzz us, Yang Gang Big Island. I would love to answer any questions for you at that Gmail account. Moving on off Tom. Evelyn, the second one, he does the interview. It's the first interview he did with that. At 3:30, she talks about her background. From New York, has one brother named Theo. He's into games. She was a little bit of a wild child. At 6:55, talks about him being in Hawaii. Who's in Hawaii that's met her brother? Shout out to us, yanggangbigisland@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Or put in the comments below if you met him. Or share pictures and whatnot on social media and your experience. At 10, she talks about letting kids be kids. She's a Columbia graduate, and she said that birth and the whole experience made her grow up, as it does for the process. Long story short, she talked about Andrew when they were younger, how there was no kind of like physical attraction. She was attracted to how confident he was. Andrew has always been awesome and pure and emotionally set. He has known what he wants and he gets it. That's our president. Alrighty, it keeps going through. 3105, Tom talks about his wife Wendy, asking a question, what qualities made Evan attracted to him at that stage? They go into detail about that. It's wonderful. She wraps up the whole synopsis, and it sounds like something that a first lady would do while she's being best. Alrighty, so that concludes our notes for the day for the Big Island update. If you want to get a hold of us, you can reach us at yanggangbigisland@gmail.com. If you have any questions or concerns, you can put them on there, but I would suggest going to yang2020.com, signing up so we know you're interested. Find out where you are, where your primaries are, and talk to the Yang Gang near you and get involved. That's the only way to go about this. Text bank, phone bank, and get involved. That's how we get them in the office. If you have any questions, put them comments, put them in the comment section below. And if you'd like to donate. Go to Yang2020 and donate. Get some Yang swag gear if you want. And if you've already maxed out on your donations and you still like to help, there are people that are just less fortunate that totally could use swag gear. I'm one of them. You could go to yangswagangels.com and donate, and then others who are less fortunate get the swag so they can talk about policies that they also know. Let the wave ride through. February's coming really quick, and once it comes, we are here for you. Aloha, Big Island.